Hey guys, so this is my Mad Hatter coat tutorial. Sorry it's very confusing, but I was just sort of guessing along the way. So first we're going to start out with an old t-shirt. We're going to cut out the sleeve and the front part of the shirt so that it looks kind of like a vest piece. Then you're just going to cut out the back of the shirt too, so you also have that for a pattern piece. And then after that you should have these three pattern pieces. You should have the sleeve, the back of the shirt, and the front of the shirt. And then next you're going to take a $5 flat sheet from Walmart, and we're just going to cut off the top part of the sheet, the thick strip, and that's going to be used for the collar of the shirt. And then here I'm just taking Wesley's measurement from the top of his shoulder all the way to as far as I want the coat to go, and we're going to use that measurement to make the two front pieces and the back piece. So we're just going to measure that line out and make everything, all of your measurements and all your pieces about an inch or an inch and a half bigger so that you have room to make seams, or if you mess up, you have room to fix it. Now just lay down the one front piece you have. Excuse my kitty, she's playing with my stuff. And then you can just start to trace around it. Remember when you're tracing things to make them about an inch and a half bigger. And remember to go all the way down to the bottom of the sheet, because that's going to be the bottom of the coat. And then here, fold the sheet in half so that you can cut out two pieces at once. You're going to just start cutting along the lines that you just drew, and that's going to make the two front pieces of the coat. And then you should have two pieces that look like this, kind of like a really long, weird looking vest. And now we're just going to make the back of the coat. You're going to measure your length first, and then you're going to just lay down the back piece of the pattern from the old t-shirt and just trace that out. And remember to make everything about an inch and a half bigger. So now you should have a back piece and your two front pieces. Go ahead and lay them on top of the back piece as if it's already put together. And then go ahead and trim off any excess fabric. And then we're going to start gluing the seams together. Start at the armpit and go all the way down the side and glue it together. And that will be your side seams. And then go ahead and do the other side as well. And you're not going to do the armpit, because that's the armhole and your arm has to go through there, but you're going to also do the top of the shoulder. So just from the shoulder all the way to the neck, glue those pieces together on both sides. And then you should have a little vest-like thing like this. And then from here it gets really complicated. We're going to start making the collar piece. You're going to measure on the diagonal part on the chest, and then you're going to double that line and put it at the bottom of the sheet so that you have a seam to work on. You're going to put a line at the top and at the bottom of that measurement. And then also at the middle, because you doubled it. And then you're also going to measure a little diagonal line for where you want the little collar flap to go, and you're going to put that measurement at that middle line that you made. And then you're going to draw a diagonal line from that middle measurement all the way to the bottom. So when you're done with this piece, it should start to look like the top of a house. That's where the middle line is. And you don't want to make it an exact point, so just move the line over so that it'll have like an inch or so that it's not a pointed edge at the bottom. So then do the same thing on the other side, from that middle line all the way down to the top measurement, but don't make it a point at the end. And then just go ahead and cut out that piece. And this is what it should look like when you're done. It looks like the top of a house. And then just cut it in half, because that's going to be both sides of the little collar flaps. So when you lay them on the coat, this is kind of what they're going to look like. We have to finish them, but as you can see, it's starting to look more like a coat. So first we're just going to start folding in the pieces to make them flat seams so that it's not just the sharp cut edge sticking out. So just start folding in the little pieces and gluing them wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. I made mine a bit smaller when I did this, but I thought it looked better. You basically just want a edge that looks like it was sewn and not to start fraying like it would if it was just cut. So do that to all of the edges and both of the pieces. This is why we didn't make it a point, was because when we folded in for the seams, that would make it more pointy. And that's what it should look like. This is the inside of the coat, and this part is where the collar is going to go. So now you have these two little pieces. Now you just want to turn your coat right side out, because when you sewed it, it was inside out, or glued, no sewing. So you'll have nice seams that look like that. And then you're going to lay the little collar pieces on, and you're just going to glue them along the same diagonal line that we measured it from. and that's going to make our little collar flaps. So we do that for the other side as well. And now we're going to fix the seams on the tummy part of the coat where the buttons would be. We're just going to fold in a little line from the bottom of the collar flaps all the way down to the bottom so that we can make a seam there as well. So now we're going to measure from the top of the shoulder to the wrist a little bit longer so that you have room. And you're going to measure from the bottom of the sheet all the way up, and remember to make it a little bit bigger. And you're going to take your sleeve piece and lay it next to it, and make the top a little bit rounder when you're measuring, because that will give room for the shoulder, and make them about 1.5 inches bigger, remember. And just trace that down to the bottom of the sheet, but make it come inward a little bit because the wrists are smaller than the top of the arms, but don't make it too small because you still want to have a lot of room. And then just start to cut that piece out. And then once you have the first one cut out, you can lay it down on another part of the sheet and make the other sleeve. So you already have one, you can just use that one to trace another one. So now you should have 2 sleeve pieces that look like this. You're going to fold one in half and start gluing along the length, and that's going to be the seam for the arm. And then you're going to turn your coat back inside out and start gluing the armholes, make seams there. I'm just putting a little line of glue and then folding it over. And this is the inside of the shirt. You turned it back inside out. I just did one sleeve so that I could show you what it's going to look like, but you stuck the sleeve inside and then glued along the armhole. So now I'll show you with the other sleeve. Remember that the line goes into the armpit part. So you have the seam going in the armpit with the seam on the coat, and then the rounded part goes on the shoulder. So I'm going to put a dot of glue on the seam part where the armpit is, and just glue that into the armpit part. That'll match up with the seam on the side of the coat. And then I'm going to put a dot of glue on the top of it for the shoulder part. And then you can just start putting glue all along on the inside of the sleeve and gluing it down. Be careful about putting so much glue that you end up gluing the whole armhole together, because I did that on the first one. It's easy to pick apart because it's just hot glue, but just be careful. You don't want to not be able to put your arm through the hole. And then you can just flip it over to do the back side. It's kind of tricky to get in there, but as long as you got the sleeve glued down to the armhole, you're good. Now we're going to start working on the collar part, and remember we had that top strip from the sheet. So first we're just going to start making a seam around the neck so we have somewhere to glue the collar onto. So just put a little strip of glue and start folding it over just like we did every other seam. And then we're going to take that strip from the top of the sheet and start gluing it along the back of the neck. We're not going to cut it yet because we don't know where it's going to end up. So just start gluing along the neck. And then stick the strip onto it. And then this part gets a little confusing, but because it's just a straight line, you want to make a little fold so that it can get round and so that it can fold over. I don't know what it's called in sewing, but you just fold a little line over like that, and that'll make it so that the collar can stand up or be folded over. You just put a little dot of glue there and then glue that little fold down, and do it on the other side as well. Make that little fold and glue it down. And then just start gluing the rest of the collar onto that seam part and make it go just to the point of the little collar flap. Don't go past that because then you're going to have to take it off and cut it. So do the same on the other side as well, only to the point of the little collar flap. So now you should have what looks like a really long scarf that's attached to the collar of your coat. And we're going to finish it by cutting little diagonal lines at the top of where the little collar flap is. But remember, when you're cutting it, draw the line a little bit longer so that you can make a seam. And then just go ahead and cut them off. And then here we're just going to start making the seams. Glue the collar from the back side and then fold that over to the back so that you don't have the little line on the front. And then now you have a little collar for your jacket. And then that's what it should look like. And voila! Now you have a little coat. I went ahead and used some fabric markers and drew on some buttons, and I haven't finished it yet, but I put on some little pockets, and that's all I got so far, but you can decorate it however you want from there. Stay tuned for the entire outfit, which you will see on Halloween, and thanks for watching!